Imagine this. You're alone in a jungle cabin, and a black panther shows up, dragging a bag like it's hiding a body. Would you grab your phone, lock the door, or step outside and look inside that bag? Tell me, what would you do in that moment? Because this isn't just a survival story. It's a legacy left by a mother who had one final mission. High in the mist-veiled ridges of the Nyandele Highlands, where cloud forests cling to the slopes and the wind whispers secrets through ancient trees, Lena Okoro was seeking solitude. A wildlife artist turned recluse, she had retreated to her late uncle's stone cabin to paint in peace, far from the chaos of city life. But that peace shattered one gray morning. It began with a dragging sound across the gravel path behind her home. Not footsteps, something heavier, deliberate. Lena glanced out the window and froze. Emerging from the tree line was a black panther, massive, scarred, and unlike anything she'd seen in the wild before. But what chilled her more was what it carried. A shredded duffel bag, clenched tightly in its jaws, dragging like a corpse across the ground. Lena's first instinct was to reach for her phone. Then she stopped. The panther wasn't hunting. It was hurting. Its eyes, gleaming and wild, held no menace, only urgency. The panther stopped near her porch, released the bag, and backed away. It stared directly at Lena, not with hunger, but with purpose. Then the bag moved. Lena's breath caught in her throat. The panther sat still as stone, watching, waiting. Inside the bag, something small and broken stirred. She stepped outside, slowly, barefoot on cold stone, heart racing. The panther didn't growl. It didn't flee. It simply stayed, as if begging her to look closer. What Lena found inside would unravel everything she thought she knew about the wild, and her place in it. Lena inched toward the duffel bag, her pulse thudding in her ears louder than the wind rustling through the canopy above. The black panther remained motionless, a living statue carved from midnight. Its golden eyes never left her, but its muscles didn't twitch. No warning growl, no flash of teeth, only presence, silent and watchful. The bag shifted again. Lena crouched, one trembling hand reaching out. The zipper had been gnawed partially open, metal teeth twisted and rust-stained. She peeled it back gently. Inside, tangled in torn fabric and soaked fur, was a panther cub. Tiny, weak, barely breathing. Its sides heaved with shallow effort, ribs showing through the sleek black coat. One paw was swollen. Blood clung to its flank in a dried smear. It didn't growl. It didn't cry. It only stared up at Lena with dim, glassy eyes. So much like the older panthers it made her chest ache. She didn't think. She moved. Grabbing the towel she had slung over her shoulder, she cradled the cub and stood. The adult panther stepped forward just once, then stopped, ears twitching, watching, listening. Then it turned and vanished into the trees without a sound. Not retreating, not abandoning, trusting. Lena stood alone, cradling something broken, something sacred. She whispered softly to the cub, "I've got you now." The jungle around her, once tense with suspense, felt still, reverent. This wasn't an accident. This was a handover, and Lena had just been chosen. Days passed like drifting mist in the Nyandele Highlands. Lena fashioned a warm nest near the fire, using old blankets and pine needles, wrapping the tiny cub in layers of care. She named him Iniko, meaning born in troubled times. At first, he barely stirred. Only the rise and fall of his chest told her he was still fighting. Lena stayed close, sleeping beside him on the floor, humming songs from her childhood, whispering stories into the dim firelight. She had no training, no credentials, just instinct and a heart cracked open by the look in his fading eyes. Each night, when the wind howled through the trees, she saw it. A shadow on the ridge, the mother panther, watching, never stepping forward, never vanishing, just present, a sentry in the dark. And Lena understood. The bond had not been severed, it had been shared. On the 5th night, Iniko moved. Not much, a twitch, a soft grunt, but it was enough. Lena wept quietly, afraid any sound might break the fragile spell of trust holding them together. By dawn, he lifted his head, blinked, and stared into her soul. He didn't fear her. He remembered. By the end of the week, Iniko could stand, shaky but determined. He followed her with slow, deliberate steps. His breath was stronger, his eyes clearer, and each evening, just before nightfall, they would both look to the ridge. The mother never approached. But she didn't need to, because trust, once planted, blooms in silence. The storm came suddenly. Thick sheets of rain turned to sleet, then snow, sweeping down from the peaks and silencing the jungle in a hush of white. Lena wrapped the cub, Iniko, in layers of towels and nestled him close to the fire. His breathing had grown stronger, his gaze more alert, but he still didn't move much. The windows trembled in their frames. The old stone cabin creaked as wind battered its walls. Outside, the world vanished into a swirling blizzard. It was near midnight when Lena heard it. Not claws, not growls, just weight. A presence pressing against the storm. She opened the door a crack, and there she was, the mother panther. Sleek fur glazed in ice, shoulders trembling with cold, eyes glowing in the lantern light, locked not on Lena, but on what lay behind her, on him, Iniko. He had raised his head, silent, watching, no cry, no movement, just recognition. Lena stepped aside. The panther didn't enter. She only moved forward enough to place one massive paw on the edge of the porch, where she had once laid the duffel bag. Then she looked at Lena, not as threat, not as rival, but as successor. A long breath fogged from her nostrils. Her eyes blinked, once slowly. Then she turned, and disappeared into the storm without a sound. Lena closed the door, hand trembling on the latch, tears hot against her cheeks. It wasn't just a farewell. It was a passing of guardianship, and with it came a weight she now carried in full. The next morning, Lena rose before the sun, her heart heavy with a decision she could no longer delay. Iniko, the cub, had gained strength, enough to survive, but he needed more than what her little cabin could provide. She packed her bag quickly, water, dried fruit, a blanket, and fashioned a sling to cradle the cub safely against her chest. The nearest ranger outpost was miles away, but the jungle had calmed, and the storm had passed. With every step through the Nyandele forest, Lena felt the weight of what was ahead. Iniko whimpered softly, but his eyes remained bright, curious. She spoke to him as they hiked, about the cabin, about the world beyond the trees, about the panther who had trusted her with the impossible. And then she saw it. A patch of disturbed earth just off the trail. Nestled between the roots of an ancient fig tree lay a familiar shape, still, serene, and unmistakable. The mother panther, her body curled into the earth as if resting. No wounds, no signs of violence, just stillness, peace. Lena dropped to her knees. Iniko wriggled from the sling and crawled toward her. He didn't cry, he didn't retreat. He simply pressed his tiny head against the mother's side, quiet and still. The realization hit Lena like thunder. This was no accident. The mother had brought him here, had given every ounce of her strength to deliver him to safety. And now she had let go. Lena whispered, "I'll take it from here." By dusk, Lena reached the edge of the reserve where the ranger outpost sat like a forgotten scar against the trees. Her legs ached, but she barely noticed, her thoughts fixed on the cub nestled in her arms, now wrapped in a faded scarf. The rangers emerged cautiously, radios crackling, faces stern. Questions came fast. Where had she found the cub? Was the mother dead? Was she sure she hadn't intervened too soon? But Lena stood her ground. She told them everything: the dragging duffel, the stare, the silent trust. One ranger, a veteran named Kojo, stepped forward and knelt to meet the cub's eyes. His voice softened. This one wasn't rescued. He was delivered. Lena braced herself as they prepared to take the cub, but then Kojo surprised her. You brought him this far. Until we sort this out, he stays with you. Relief poured through her like sunlight breaking through mist. For now, the cub's fate was in her hands. Lena named him Ash, not for destruction, but for rebirth, the kind that rises quietly from what's been lost. In the weeks that followed, Ash transformed. His limp faded, his eyes sharpened, his ribs disappeared beneath sleek fur and growing muscle. He shadowed Lena through the forest trails, careful and alert, never straying too far. She didn't try to tame him, only to give him what his mother began: a safe place to grow. He slept curled near the fireplace on stormy nights and disappeared into the trees by day, only to return when the sun dipped low. Villagers who once whispered about Lena's reclusive life now spoke of the Panther ghost with awe. But Lena knew he was no ghost. He was a promise kept, a heartbeat in the undergrowth, a soul still finding its shape. And every day Ash stayed, Lena whispered a silent vow to love him fiercely and to let him go when the time was right. Lena named him Ash, not for destruction, but for rebirth, the kind that rises quietly from what's been lost. In the weeks that followed, Ash transformed. His limp faded, his eyes sharpened, his ribs disappeared beneath sleek fur and growing muscle. He shadowed Lena through the forest trails, careful and alert, never straying too far. She didn't try to tame him, only to give him what his mother began: a safe place to grow. He slept curled near the fireplace on stormy nights and disappeared into the trees by day, only to return when the sun dipped low. Villagers who once whispered about Lena's reclusive life now spoke of the Panther ghost with awe. But Lena knew he was no ghost. He was a promise kept, a heartbeat in the undergrowth, a soul still finding its shape. And every day Ash stayed, Lena whispered a silent vow to love him fiercely and to let him go when the time was right. Lena sat beneath the open window of her uncle's old cabin, the panther cub, now stronger, more curious, napping nearby, his chest rising and falling in gentle rhythm. She held her journal in one hand, a charcoal pencil in the other, the final page staring back at her. "He was never mine," she wrote, "but I was meant to hold him long enough to help him rise." The jungle had trusted her with a life it could no longer carry, and in doing so, it gave her purpose. She knew one day the cub would hear a deeper call, one she couldn't answer. But for now, they shared the silence, the art of stillness, and the bond that neither time nor instinct could erase. As the last light filtered through the trees, she smiled, tears in her eyes. You were her masterpiece. I was just the brush. If this story moved you, like, subscribe, and help us keep telling stories the wild whispers. Sometimes the wild teaches us lessons we'd never expect. Lena didn't set out to be a hero. She didn't ask for responsibility or plan to raise a panther cub. But when the jungle placed a life at her feet, she answered, not with fear, but with compassion. The mother panther didn't speak, didn't plead, didn't roar. She simply trusted. And in that trust, Lena discovered a deeper truth. Love doesn't always look like what we expect. It can arrive clawed, bruised, and silent. It can be terrifying and tender all at once. True connection, whether between species, people, or places, grows not from control but from care. When we choose to show up, even when we feel unqualified, we become part of something bigger than ourselves. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes in the quiet power of love and wild grace.